Welcome to The Explainer. You ever have one of those moments where a simple yes or no just doesn't cut it, where you need to say something a little more complex? Well, today we're going to build out your communication toolkit. We'll break down exactly how to show doubt, imagine completely different scenarios, and make your arguments so much stronger with a little bit of contrast.
Okay, let's start with something super simple and confident. The project will succeed. Boom. It's direct, it's clear, there's really no room for argument, is there?
Exactly. The real world is just not that clean, right? It's messy. It's full of maybes, what ifs, and competing ideas. And if we want to talk about it effectively, our language has to be able to handle all that beautiful complexity. So first things first, we need to learn how to inject a little bit of doubt. This is our first step in moving away from those black and white statements and into the much more interesting shades of gray. See that? Just one little word, a modal verb, and the entire feeling of the sentence changes. We've gone from a sure thing to just a possibility. We've cracked open the door to uncertainty. And what's really cool is that these words aren't just a random list. You can actually think of them as a scale, like a volume knob for certainty. Way up at the top, you've got might or could, total uncertainty. But as you move down through should and will, you can feel your confidence growing until you land on must, which is pretty much as certain as you can get based on the evidence you have.
Now here is a super common trip up, so you're gonna wanna listen to this. When you're sure something is true, you say it must be. But what if you're just as sure that it's not true? Logically, you might think the opposite is must not be, but it's not. It's actually a much punchier can't be. This can't be the right way. It's a small change, but it makes a huge difference. Okay, so that's how we express our own level of certainty. But what about when we want to check in with someone else? See if they're on the same page? Well, that's where question tags come in. They are an awesome tool for making a statement feel more like a conversation. And this is where the magic really happens, because everything depends on how you say it. If your voice goes down at the end, won't it? You're not really asking a question. You're stating a fact and just looking for agreement. But if your voice goes up at the end, won't it? Now it's a real question. You're actually asking, hey, I think so, but what do you think?
All right, we've got a handle on expressing doubt in the real world. But what if we want to leave reality behind entirely and explore different possibilities? That's when we start playing the what-if game with conditionals.
Let's start with type 1. This is the realistic conditional. We use it to talk about a real, possible future. There's a decent chance this could actually happen.
And our running example shows this perfectly. Getting the funding, that's a real possibility. And if that happens, then the result, success, is very likely to follow. It's all grounded in the real world. Okay, now we take a step into the land of imagination with type 2. We use this to talk about things that are pretty unlikely or maybe even impossible right now. And notice the key. We use the past tense here, like, if I won the lottery. It's not because we're talking about the past. It's a grammatical signal that says, hey everyone, we're not in reality anymore. And finally, we have the type 3 conditional, which is basically our own verbal time machine. It lets us look back at something that already happened and imagine how things could have been different. It's the language of what could have been, and it's always impossible because, well, you can't change the past. And here's a cool little trick you can use with type 3, especially if you want to sound a bit more formal or literary. You can actually drop the word if completely and just flip the subject and the verb had. So, if we had known becomes the slightly more elegant had we known. Means the exact same thing, just with a little more style. Okay, so let's recap. We can show doubt, and we can build entire hypothetical worlds. Now for the final layer, the thing that's going to make our communication truly sophisticated. We need to create some tension, some complexity, and we do that with the art of contrast. These words right here, these are your best friends for building more complex, interesting sentences. They act like little hinges, letting you connect your main idea to something that might seem to contradict it. It's how you add real depth to what you're saying. Let's bring back our project sentence one last time. By saying, although it is risky, you're not weakening your main point. It's actually the opposite. You're showing that you've considered the downsides, which makes your belief in the project's success seem way more credible and thought out. Okay, and there's a really subtle but powerful difference here. A word like whereas sets up a direct contrast. It's like this versus that, black versus white. But although does something called concession, it introduces an obstacle.
It's like saying, yes, I know this is a problem, but we're going to succeed anyway. It makes your main point feel like it's overcome a challenge, which is really persuasive.
So, after all that, we've gathered some seriously powerful tools. Let's lay them all out on the table and take a look at the complete communicator's toolkit we've just built together.
You see the path we've taken? We started with a simple, solid fact. Then we started adding those shades of possibility, exploring all the what-ifs. And finally, we added that incredible depth by bringing in conflicting ideas. That's the journey from a flat statement to a rich, nuanced thought. But here's the most important thing to take away from all of this. These aren't just boring grammar rules you have to memorize. Think of them as the building blocks of critical thinking. These are the tools you use to build clear, precise, and really persuasive arguments.
When you master these tools, you give yourself the power to talk about the world not just as black and white, but in all of its true, messy, complicated colors. You're now equipped to go way beyond simple statements. So the only real question left is, what complex idea are you ready to explain next?